Got my gloves on. Got a medium-sized trash bag. Brought a second one just in case it's needed. But yeah, I'm gonna have my clicker here, and I'm gonna try to pick up some garbage in the area. Hope that this films correctly, but we're gonna try this out. Welcome to Mic'd Up for Leadership, the podcast that gives you the tools to lead with confidence. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Dresen, and I'm joined by, once again, the one, the only, Jourdan Hilaire. Jourdan, are you surviving the rain?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am, man. It just started maybe a few hours ago or so, but I think it's definitely slowing down now. So I'm thankful for that, for sure.
Awesome. It's actually raining around here, too. A little more of a sprinkle. There's a tornado warning about an hour north of us, but I'm safe here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so no worries there. But yeah, quite a day to pick to record a podcast.
I know, seriously, but I'm glad that we're inside. So
Definitely. Well, I'm excited to get into more of an experiential podcast. You might have heard some audio from an activity that I did earlier on as more of an intro moment to this podcast, but we're definitely going to share some street team level experiential leadership for you today.
yeah, I was when I saw that, I was very curious. I was wondering, like, so if the yard is full of trash again, what's the dream? Is it just to clean the lawn? Like, I'm confused. What's like? I need you to maybe share more information about what was going on there.
Right. Well, let's start from the beginning, right? Like, I am in full spring cleaning mode. At one point in time, Milwaukee had no snow on the ground. Can't say it's not going to come back, but all the snow is melted. It was a near 70-degree day. Sun was shining, and a lot of the trash that had been covered by snow was out and about at that point, and kind of blown around the walking path that I have for my foster dog Bailey. And he'll jump at anything that moves. And at one point, I think he almost tried to eat a part of a candy bar that was on the ground. I'm like, that's obviously not good for dogs. And so I was sitting there, and I said, something I used to tell to my NRHH students at Indiana State University, and it's not my quote, clearly: "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Something that is a very famous quote, and we use that as an effort to anchor some of our service initiatives, right? And so just a simple cleanup, I thought back to that, and I was like, why not try to take some action? Like, if I dream of clean streets and a path where I can walk my dog, where I don't see a bunch of McDonald's leftovers all out and about. It was my goal to just like do my part, right, and hopefully maybe inspire others to clean the streets, but really just take care of my part of the neighborhood, and maybe others will do the same.
No, that it's very noble, for sure. Especially after seeing the video, I'm sure that you definitely made a positive impact. But there's also others that may not necessarily fully agree with your personal goals of the community, right? In a direction and how you want to go about it. So I've always been curious, well, specifically curious about this particular situation. Like, how do you usually dream of like a better community without becoming, that get off my lawn type of person, right? How do you connect and engage with those community members so they know your vision and your goal for to create a better shared community?
Yeah, I appreciate that, because there were times where I'm like, I'm cleaning up someone else's mess, and I'm going to be the grumbly guy walking around with a picker,
Right.
and like, I can't believe the big arch product from McDonald's is out and about, right? um, but no, it was something where I was honestly excited to do it, and I wanted to do it with joy. 2025 was my year of seeking joy, and so that was really something that I wanted to still implement whenever I could. And so it was just an opportunity to make a positive impact, knowing in the back of my head that, yeah, you know what, it's probably gonna get messy again. Kind of foreshadowing, it got messy literally the next day, and we'll talk about that. But really, it was my goal to kind of do it on a smile on my face and enjoy the weather, be in the moment, and just smile and say hi to some people along the way if I interacted with them, or if I happen to make eye contact, which was really cool. I actually met a few people along the way, and was able to just talk with them about what I was doing, why I was doing it. And I mentioned my dog. I mentioned that I had a podcast, and I was just like, want to do something different about, just in the streets leadership. But also get to hear their stories about how they pick up trash with their families, or were just, grateful for, someone looking out for the community and hopefully inspiring action more passively. And just saying, yeah, it was just something I wanted to do, without pointing to the problem necessarily, just hoping to solve it on more of a surface level to start.
No, absolutely. And it seems like, after really being present in the community, being able to actually connect with, those community members, your neighbors, sharing with them your reasoning, right? And your understanding of what the community that you would like to see, it seemed like they became more comfortable for, what you were doing, and maybe wanted to join in as well.
Yeah,
Uh, it,
absolutely. Sorry, Kara, I forgot to tell you this. My next door neighbor I met for the first time, he had an LSU hat on.
okay, well, that was perfect.
Yeah, I literally,
Great
LSU.
transition.
Yeah, I literally was walking by, or he was walking by, and I was like, oh, LSU? He was like, oh, yeah, I was actually down there, Denham Springs this past week. And I'm like, oh, get out. And we struck up a conversation. And so it was kind of funny to be able to talk with them. But yeah, no, just, I want to start by, prefacing all this. I never wanted to be like, look, I'm just picking up some trash. Everyone picks up trash every now and then in their yard or otherwise. I'm not doing something. It is noble. I think you used that word before, and it was kind of sitting with me like, maybe, but also like not really. I hope that we all are inspired to act in some way in this world to make it a better place. And like I don't want to grandstand too much about it, but it was just something I've been meaning to do. And honestly, I'm doing a deep clean in my own home, and so it's just like an extension of that. I'm just in that mode of organizing things, being type A, like the guy I am, and so it was a little bit more of that. But I think it speaks to just kind of a mindset of just seeing a problem and taking action, and just different levels of that problem, right? If we reflect this back to maybe student groups we work with, right, or just any organization I've been a part of, maybe the problem isn't as obvious, but just maybe there's an easy thing that you can do to fill in to make a difference. And so I was wondering if you were able to relate that back to any experiences you've had working with leaders.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that, some things that you were talking about and some of the action that you took, right, to support your community and be involved is very similar to, higher ed, right, and student affairs. When we're working with students, a lot of student organizations, especially as we both know, when it comes to Greek life, right, a lot of the mission statements is leadership and service, right? Being able to actually serve your community, right? So be able to, the importance of getting involved in hosting multiple, community service projects, or, helping lead initiatives that are already established within the community, right? It's really important to become aware and involved in your community. Be able to, be advisors for organizations like both of us have done for multiple times, different institutions at a university or off campus as well. Being able to understand the importance of really connecting with your community members, seeing how you can support, how you can be involved. I think it definitely goes a long way, being able to really enhance and develop, what the community is already doing. So I think that's definitely something like, and that's why I go back to being that noble. I know that might be a, interesting word, but a lot of people, I think that we still are encouraging and really doing our best to really take initiative, right? Because a lot of people are still not doing that, right? So, again, I appreciate you for doing what you were doing, because some people had to take that first step, and that's what we talk to our student leaders about too, as well, right? Taking that first step. It's okay to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Taking initiative, being that first one to say like, hey, I want to help, right? I want to support, or hey, let's create this. I think about those specific initiatives during a spring break. What are they called? Habitat for Humanity, right? Which is a really big initiative, throughout the country where you can really get involved and help, build homes and focus on agriculture, right, around those communities. I think that goes a long way, right? And you get to also learn a lot about those community members, and also what you're capable of as well, as a servant leader. So yeah, so those are some things that I think about when we talk about this.
Yeah, the Divine Nine fraternities really do an amazing job engaging alumni and staying connected to the mission after college, and really making it a lifetime commitment. And not that other organizations don't do that, but I would say they're the shining example when it comes to student organizations across the country. And I think that what we miss out on sometimes is taking our leadership skills into the community itself, and certainly doing service work, right? But it took me a while, when I was moving around to different colleges. I felt all of um, my passion and my interest and helping others was so tied up in my work that when I got home for the night, it was something I didn't think about doing anything else but just relaxing, right? Or hanging out with friends or taking care of personal projects. So now that I'm in a role where I have a little bit more flexibility, I've started to realize that was the thing that's missing. And so I got involved in more volunteer opportunities, but then realized that it was still part of a larger organization. And leadership, yes, we talk about leadership being action, but leadership is something that we can do in our home community without it needing to be tied to something else. And so I just kept thinking about the just the different ways we can impact organizations, our own community, what have you, on a surface level. And that's really why I decided to do it. Is just let me make a little impact in my home, in my area. But then, while it was all great to start, Jourdan, that next morning, I will say I was beyond frustrated.
Why? What happened?
So
Uh
yeah, so I told you about, I showed you the videos of the day, and I had a big smile on my face, and that's a leading thing, right? There's joy there. The next morning, I literally walk out into my front yard, and just a whole Wendy's, whatever they call it, 4 for $4, a biggie bag, whatever it is now, just all this food sprawled about, and I saw an overflowing garbage bin up the street that just everything was massively overflowing from it. And as I took Bailey out for a longer walk, it was still much cleaner, right? I still made an impact, but I could see just random litter strewn all about in just a 3 block radius, just still pretty messy. And realizing that while I made a dent, that trash returned much quicker than, in less than 12 hours, right? And so yeah, left feeling kind of frustrated. And sometimes I think that's where it's tough to take action when there's a little bit of defeat after that. You do a lot, and you don't see those long-term benefits, right? I think some of our early student leaders we work with sometimes get discouraged after, you can stack some quick wins, but as the problems get more complex, they can lose some confidence or that momentum, and maybe might quit on the problem at that point.
No, absolutely. And I think about the what's the root cause, right? Systemic problems, right? So I guess for me, I ask you, what do you feel like is maybe some of those issues, or why do you feel like that happened, right? Like you're doing your best, you're putting your best foot forward, you're taking it upon yourself to go out there, right, in the morning and pick up trash. But like you said, the following day, there's a lot more to there, right? And again, at the end of the day, though, you did a great job at being able to actually model, right, what you're preaching, right, or what you're sharing about, to your community members. Like, hey, I'm going to take the first step. But what do you feel like is some of the reasons why that is still ongoing, and how do you feel like we can, I guess, address it short term and long term?
Yeah, definitely. Well,
I'm curious, like who do we get in, like who do we get involved in this process?
no, it's a great question, because it takes all of us, right, to make change in the world, in your community, large or smaller. On a college campus, you have a really structured system of advisors and professional staff and faculty, and even a whole maintenance crew, if we're talking about environmental cleanup and whatnot, that really want to take pride in a setting and help support student initiatives. not everyone has that same goal in mind. There's not that same mission statement or that pride that's instilled in an area. And so I think when someone's walking out and about, or maybe just passing through a community that's not theirs, it's easy if they don't see a garbage can or it's already overflowing, just to throw one more thing in there. And so that, I think that sometimes happens, or they've done the job before. It's actually interesting you said that. I was talking to a couple. It looks like neighbors were talking after work, and they saw me picking up some trash, and they said, "Hey, thank you so much for doing that." Oh yeah, sure, no problem. And I explained to them, what I was doing, but and I even said this. I said, "Look, I don't know why the trash is out here. Maybe it blew around. Maybe someone was careless. But I wanted to make a clear path." And they were very quick to say it's both. Right. And not in a defeated way, but like a matter of fact way, where it's like, yeah, like no matter what, there is some just nature of the world. Not all trash is completely going to be picked up and clean, or not every problem is going to be solved neatly. But also that there are going to be people that maybe don't want to contribute to that feeling, and maybe feel like, it might be fun to go against the culture or the community aspect or what have you.
Right.
So it was frustrating to hear that, and it already planted a seed of like, ooh, how soon is this going to come back? And yeah, little did I know that it would happen right away.
And like you mentioned, though, it's very normal to feel, defeated, I guess, in sorts, right? Knowing that the time that you put in, to clean up the community. However, one thing I always talk to my students about is take it one day at a time, right? Because you never know the impact. You never know who's watching you, right? And I think that there are, maybe natural born leaders, and people do become, and also people can become leaders as well, right? Through experiences. But also there will be followers, and I use followers in a positive way, right? I know sometimes followers can be said as like a negative connotation, but I say followers as in, if you see someone, doing something positive, or just doing something in general where you feel like they're making a difference, eventually, I always say eventually, you're going to start to see other people follow suit as well, right? So sometimes it may take you a few weeks, right, to do that on your own by yourself. But this, like you mentioned, though, you said a few neighbors saw you and commended you for doing that, right? So you never know. I'm not going to speak for them, your neighbors, but you never know. In a few weeks from now, or a couple months from now, they may join in as well, right? Even if they pick up one soda can, right? That's more than they did 2 weeks ago, okay, right? So, and that's one thing I always talk to my students as well. Like, hey, continue to, lead with integrity, right? Continue to create and build a vision, continue to create and build a shared vision as well for your organization, for yourself, etc. And then eventually, a lot of times, once your peers start to become aware of, and also start to understand where you plan on going with this organization, with this vision, etc., things become more clear, and then you start to actually see a lot more people following behind you, which is the kind of like the beauty sometime of being a leader, and creating and leading initiatives such as that.
That's the motivation that I'm talking about, right? Like going out there and doing things and not maybe seeing the exact results, or knowing if it's making a difference, but you being able to work as a caring professional, right? Advisor or faculty member or what have you, to be able to keep them going and see some of that difference and maybe remove some of those obstacles. That's really that's a powerful thing that you do. And in the real world, we have those systems, and I'm going to mention that in a second. But basically, I had to realize that we have local government for a reason, and it's not just about leveraging them on their own. But I want to kind of talk through what I reflected on a little bit. You mentioned dream right at the beginning, and I appreciate you saying that, because for my small business leadership consulting group, DRE leadership, it stands for dream of possibilities, realize your potential, engage your community. And I believe in that leadership model because it is cyclical and scaffolded one on top of the other. And so when we're working with incoming student leaders or new leaders to an organization in the professional world, someone who's just getting their feet wet. The idea is dreaming of possibilities of what they can be as a leader, who they can become in their career, and just what they have and what they want to accomplish in life. Any type of goal, right? It might be the first time they're setting a goal of any kind, right? So really dreaming of what's possible and not selling yourself short. So like dreaming of what's possible for you and your organization or your community for this matter, right? My dream, as I said at the beginning, was just have a clean space to walk around where I can take pride in it and not worry about my dog eating a candy bar, right?
Right.
So that's the dream. And then realizing your potential in a smaller setting, right? When we're working with incoming leaders in different kinds, it's about honing those skills, getting them comfortable with the resources available, and taking that action, that first step. And then ultimately understanding how to utilize those skills, right? Whether that's leading a meeting, putting up advertising for something, implementing a program or an event, and actually going out there in the community using your skills. That is, realizing your potential to actually reach that dream. But then it ultimately results in engaging your community, whether that's your student organization, your college campus community, your work setting, or literally just the community at large. And that's where I think about it cyclically, where we're trying to prepare all leaders for the next thing. And so that dream resets because after college, you're in a corporate job, or maybe you're working in higher education again, you're in a nonprofit, you're in grad school, whatever that is, you're leveling up your life in different ways, and you're taking on new dreams, and you have to realize your potential and actually engage that community. So part of it was, okay, I know that I can order the same supplies that I've ordered when we've done cleanups before with my NRHH students. I was able to, grab a garbage picker, a set of gloves, and a garbage bag, and I was going to go around and engage the community, not just by doing that out in the world, but also by talking to people that I came across, right? That's more of a level one of it all, or maybe level two being outside of, the student role as a first-time leader. But that's where it reset for me that second day. And so I'm going to pause there. But basically, that's when I realized I had to kind of kick it up a notch once I realized that the garbage returned.
You know, everything that you said, and I completely agree. So, I mean, I guess, all the good that you've done for the community thus far. So are you like, I don't know, Mr. Pickup Trash Man in Milwaukee now? Like, what's your superhero title? What are we doing? However, I will say though, before I let you go, I will say though, I think a lot of people should understand that some of the most impactful leaders are those individuals that honestly did something that people didn't want to do. They went for it, right? They went for it. Whether that's in education and tech and business, etc. They went for it, right? And they were able to galvanize a group of people, a community, a city, etc. Right? Individuals, eventually, right? Knowing and be able to for people to see the impact that you can really make, right? With when you were able to kind of like step out on faith a lot, right? And I think some of the again, most impactful leaders that we've have are people that literally stepped out on faith and just went for it, which I feel like you did. So again, it goes back to I commend you, and I feel like it was noble, for you to do that, even though it may seem like I guess maybe somewhat basic task or something that you have to do. But at the end of the day, though, you were one of the first people to do it, right? So I think it's sometimes important to acknowledge that.
Well, I appreciate that, Jourdan. And that's where kicking up a notch is well, maybe not becoming Mr. Garbage Man, although wearing a costume would be great marketing, and I could do something with that, create its own Instagram account and get other people to join me in a superhero themed thing, right? Like, how you and I love superheroes, and in the future, we're going to do some podcasts on superheroes. I know that much. Just not yet.
Absolutely.
Not yet.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll get a special guest in here for that. But yeah, so it was a twofold thing. I realized that if I'm really thinking about my leadership model, realizing my potential is not just that. It is part of the strategy, but realizing it's a both and. When we take on complex issues, it's not as simple as always treating the symptom. We have to look at the root cause. And the root cause, as I mentioned, was those overflowing trash bins, right? And I realized that most of that trash that was being thrown away, it was bagged up properly and boxed up properly in many ways. But it's so overflowing that it's left on the side and it's available for, different squirrels and whatnot to get in there and open up the bags, right? So I realized that there is a whole structured local government, right, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Department of Neighborhood Services and the Click for Action team to be able to address these concerns when sanitation is a problem, right? Like if you're not to be someone who is just you get off my lawn, right, or saying here's the problem. I called them up and I said, hey, here's the situation. I went around, cleaned up, and I realized that the trash came back the next day, and it was a lot of it. And so I looked around, realized there's some overflowing dumpsters, and I don't really know who to contact, right? Like if I were to go into a local business and talk to the person behind the counter, at the ice cream shop, right? Like they're not the owner of the store. They're gonna be like, oh, I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess customers might walk out and not necessarily dump their trash the right way or what have you, right? There, and so really to start the conversation with the city that has experience in giving resources, right? Whether it's a more scheduled routine pickup because those dumpsters are overflowing and we need to get a larger dumpster, or the property owner, I should say, needs to get a larger dumpster, or they need to have the sanitation department come by more often to empty those because it's having more traffic, whatever it might be. Look, I don't expect that this problem is going to be solved right away, and there's a lot of times where there's going to be trash. And so my goal is to, when the weather is nice enough, permitting, right, not in this rainstorm, but maybe go around once a week and just make it more of a habit to clean up the trash in the area to the point that hopefully it's a both and where the community sees that and maybe is inspired to pick up something, right? I even saw some smiles or some head nods. One guy was outside playing his guitar and just said, hey, thank you, as I walked by. And I was like, well, hey, you're welcome, and just kept on doing my thing, leading by example, I suppose. But I will say, like, it's, I've done some beach cleanups before, done some park cleanups in the city even, but it just feels good to make a difference, and really realize that all these lessons we learn as student leaders, like if we don't have a mechanism to apply that after the fact and actually impact the community, then we as professionals aren't doing the best job that we can do to keep our leaders connected, because they're going out in the world doing incredible things. And I think a lot of them are doing impacting their communities in so many great ways. But sometimes that may be more passive, because if we're strictly talking about just forcing them to do a service project versus, hey, when you get out of here, like, how are you going to commit to cleaning your community? Is it one bag at a time? Is it doing one make a difference day or whatever that community service day in the community is? Just having some sort of commitment, we can really give them those personal challenges. I think that there's an opportunity to inspire that after college, this matters just as not, if not more, than doing it on a college campus with all the safety nets in place, because they are a strong enough leader at this point after going through all the programs at our college campuses to make that difference in the larger community.
No, I appreciate that. This sounds like this could be a presentation, right?
Okay, let's go.
This sounds like this sounds like a workshop, right? But yeah, no, I agree. I think it goes back to everything that you talked about. Leading by example and being able to, have student leaders understand the impact that you make while in college. It can really go, it'll be very important to, helps you pretty much grow, right? Once you graduate and really develop like some of those skills that you mentioned. I think it goes back to what Ray, was talking about last week, right? In our podcast about student involvement is like the practice field, right? Being able to really hone in and get involved and do things, community service, programming, hosting meetings, right, communicating, getting involved in conflict. Unfortunately, right? We don't want to be involved in conflict with your peers, right? But ultimately, sometimes it just happens, right? Being able to work with people, finding common goals, et cetera, et cetera. But those things are really important for you once you actually graduate, right? And get your degree, be able to go into the quote unquote real world, right? And still actually always understand the commitment that you have, that you're making for your community to be involved. And honestly, picking up one, trash bag at a time, right? Really, I think will definitely go a long way in building character for yourself, but also creating a better community as well for you and for others.
Yeah. So if I can put a bow on this conversation on my end, because you did a great job there, find that spring cleaning, that one bag of garbage, both figuratively, metaphorically, and literally, right? Cleaning up your community, yes, we'd love for you to do that. And if you want to send us photos or video of you responding to our challenge of cleaning up your neighborhood, that'd be awesome. We'd love to start a movement, but it takes more than that. It's talking about that from your leadership practice in the organizations you're part of. Like, what is that nagging problem that you keep treating, but in reality, you need to do a more root cause analysis, deep dive into what's going on. You need to up level in some way, or you need to really have a crucial conversation, difficult conversation in that way that you're mentioning, right? That conflict that you might have to address, whatever that is really preventing your organization or your community from, or you yourself as a leader from achieving your potential, right? Realizing your potential. So yeah, my dream is for everyone to realize that potential, and we're doing our part with having these honest conversations on this podcast, which is why I appreciate talking with you every week. And we're going to continue to bring these real world examples to the table as often as possible, while relating it back to opportunities to hone your craft on your college campus, in your professional setting, or wherever it is in the world that you're practicing leadership.
I agree. Thank you.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, hey, Jourdan, I love talking about this. I love being able to stretch a stroll around the neighborhood into a whole podcast episode
Right.
about
Seriously.
a couple bags of trash, right? But it's so much more than that. It's a reminder that we need to be leaders at all phases of our life if we want to strive to be that way. You be the change you wish to see in the world. So I'm excited to see what response I might get from the city. I'll keep you all posted if that changes, but otherwise you'll see me walking around my community in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with a garbage picker and a trash bag every so often, just to do my part in that role, right?
Well, I guess it means it's time for me to go to Walmart.
Hey, let's go. I inspired one person. No, you're doing
Right,
great things,
exactly.
Jourdan. I appreciate it. Well, hey, this was great conversation. I love doing more of this experiential thing, and we'll see you in the next one. We're trying on new formats. We're going to get some guests back soon, but it was really a pleasure to speak to you all about this experience. And you'll see some fun clips on social media as well, with some camera angles of me picking up trash firsthand. So until that time of seeing that video with the trash man, I am Alex.
And I'm Jourdan.
Thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you in the next one.